Hello and welcome to the next Gradcracker webinar. I'm really pleased to be joined today by nuclear graduates. We will learn about the recruitment process, give you a head start with hints and tips, and this year we'll be hearing from graduates Lauren, Henry and Jasmine, and they'll tell us all about their time so far at nuclear graduates and what the future has in store for them. So we will start with the Energist People and Skills team, which includes Craig, Sian and Hannah. So welcome to the webinar, everybody. And then Craig, Sian and Hannah will also talk about things all early careers. So for example, the recruitment process, the graduate programme, training, development, sneaky hints and tips to give you, the graduates who are watching, a head start as well. So Craig, I'm going to come straight to you. Everybody can see from your backgrounds, you've got nuclear graduates, you've got Energists. Tell us about you, your role, and who Nuclear Graduates is and who Energist is, please.
Thank you, Carla. I'm Craig Iveson. I'm Head of People and Skills at Energist. I've been with Energist for about 16 months now, and I'm delighted to be part of the team that runs the Nuclear Graduates programme. As you can see from my background, we have Nuclear Graduates logo there, we have the Energist logo there, and the NDA logo. So just to give a bit of background to each of those. The Nuclear Graduates programme was established in 2007 by the Nuclear Decommissioning Authority. Throughout that time, it has recruited talented young people into the nuclear sector. And that was the aim of the Nuclear Decommissioning Authority from the inception of the programme in 2007, to recruit a diverse range of talent. Yeah. The Nuclear Decommissioning Authority work with Energist to deliver the Nuclear Graduates programme. Energist is part of the Nuclear Decommissioning Authority. We're a subsidiary of the Nuclear Decommissioning Authority, and we work with the Nuclear Decommissioning Authority to run the Nuclear Graduates Programme on for the NDA and for a number of other organisations, as well as a range of other apprenticeship and graduate programmes on behalf of the Nuclear Decommissioning Authority. Perfect,
thank you very much. Good explaining as well. There's a lot to get in there, isn't there? Quite confusing. So we'll look back to Craig a little bit later on, who will tell us all about the training and development, the future of the company, future goals and things like that. But now I'm going to come to Sian. Hi, Sian. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah. Been shadow work together for years, as you can probably tell. Could you tell us about your role at Nuclear Graduates and what you get up to?
Yeah, absolutely. My role is recruitment and selection lead. And basically it pretty much says in my title, I lead on all the recruitment and selection activities across both Energist and Nuclear Graduates as well. Yeah. I've got many years experience working across different organisations within the nuclear sector, and I've been with Energist for around 14 months now. I'm really excited about the programme and what we've got to offer this year through the different opportunities and things, which you'll hear a little bit more about shortly. But yeah, my passion lies with ensuring we support candidates through the journey, through the programme, and yeah, we build that pipeline of talent into the industry.
Yeah, there's lots and lots of new things happening this year out there as well, Sian, with the new opportunities going live as well, which are all on the hub on Gradcracker. So we'll scoot and meet Hannah first, but then Sian will be telling us all about the recruitment process and what's in store for you when you do apply to their opportunities. So thank you, Sian. Hannah, on to you. So you're involved in training and development of the grads, aren't you? So tell us a little bit about your background and why training and development is so important to you and Nuclear Graduates.
Yeah, thanks, Carla. My name is Hannah Crichton and I'm a People and Skills Coordinator with the Energist team. I've been at Energist nearly 12 months now, and one of my key roles is the learning and development of our Energist programmes, and in particular our Nuclear Graduate programme. So myself and a colleague, we look at the various training that is on offer to all of our nuclear graduates, whether it be the mandatory training that we offer as part of the course, or whether it be the budgets that each individual graduate gets to spend on their own CPD opportunities. So mandatory training across our programmes includes subjects around commercial awareness, project management, influence and negotiation, and these are spread out across the 2-year programme that the nuclear graduate undertakes. Each graduate, as I said previously, also receives a CPD budget, which they can spend on courses they wish to, either discipline related or not. And they work closely with their line managers and their mentors during the 2-year programme to establish which additional training they'd wish to undertake. And this budget can also cover conferences as well, which in the past graduates have attended nationally and internationally. And I do believe that these opportunities that we do offer with regards to the mandatory training and additional training allows graduates to sort of build that portfolio, build up the knowledge to take back to their sponsoring organisation post-programme.
Perfect. And we'll talk about what all that means a little bit later on in the webinar as well, especially from the grads, just hear it straight from them about their experiences so far. And so we've got the perfect mix here, haven't we? So we've got Craig telling us all about the company, Sian all about the recruitment process, and hints and tips, and Hannah all about your training. So we've got the perfect balance for you graduates to find out all about nuclear graduates and what you can do in the future. Craig, I'm going to look back to you. So as a company, we're always thinking what we do in our industry, we're always thinking forward, we're always thinking about the future. What's kind of in store for nuclear graduates? What are the plans?
That's a really good question, Carla. I think that the point you made there about looking to the future is absolutely at the heart of what we're doing with nuclear graduates. Mm-hmm. The nuclear sector is undergoing a transformation. Yeah, and that's not too strong a word. We're talking about a sector that is facing and contributing to some of the wider challenges that are facing our society at the moment. And we want nuclear graduates to be at the heart of that transformation. Yeah. So we have a sector that is made up of organisations that are responsible for the decommissioning of parts of the nuclear sector, and the range of opportunities within that part of the sector are absolutely astonishing, from commercial opportunities through to really fantastic technology to undertake that task. Mm-hmm. So a wide range of opportunities there. We also have the emergence of new build nuclear technologies, and we've, most of us will have seen that in the news fairly recently. Mm-hmm. We've got the development of new technologies around fusion, nuclear fusion, and around small modular reactors as well. So new technologies there emerging all the time, and all that combined makes the nuclear sector sort of a real part of the future when we're talking about energy security and when we talk about contribution to net zero as well. And we want nuclear graduates to be at the heart of that. Our employment organisations that we work with, they are absolutely committed to developing the talent of the future. And for our next intake, the volumes that they are looking to us to deliver are sizable. They are looking for new talent, a lot of new talent right across the sector to help them contribute to those challenges. So really important that the Nuclear Graduates Programme reflects our employer needs for the future and the skill shortages that they have. Mm-hmm. That nuclear graduates play a significant role in a changing sector and a sector undergoing transformation. Really want the Nuclear Graduates Programme as well to have a sense of community as well, not just for our graduates to highlight their skills and their talent, which they do, and we hope we give them every opportunity to do that, but also to highlight the contribution they make to those broader social issues as well, because our graduates, and I'm sure Sian and Hannah will touch on this, and I'm sure Lauren, Henry and Jasmine will as well, our graduates make a contribution to their communities as well. That's really important that we grow that, we promote that. And to enable us to do that, we rebranded this year. So the logo over my shoulder here is new. we're raising the profile of the Nuclear Graduates Programme, and we are absolutely committed to raising the profile of our nuclear graduates as well, at an individual level and at a group level as well. So there's an awful lot going on there at a sector level, at an employer level, and at a nuclear graduate level as well. And all that will contribute to the future of the sector.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Craig. I'm not sure who can answer this, Craig, Shan, I'm guessing, maybe one of you two. So you've mentioned, there's a couple of phrases there that you've mentioned. So for example, employment organisations, and Hannah, I think you said host companies. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that? So can we just explain to the audience what you mean by those kind of different sayings, phrases?
I'm happy to take that.
Go for it.
So, as I said earlier, Energous delivers the Nuclear Graduates Programme on behalf of the Nuclear Decommissioning Authority, who are absolutely committed to bringing a diverse range of talent into the nuclear sector. Yeah. The nuclear sector has a range of different employers within it, and a number of those employers are sponsoring organisations for the Nuclear Graduates Programme. Yeah. So we have sponsors working with us. Those sponsoring organisations work with us to deliver the programme. We then have a series of secondment hosts who will enable our graduates to undertake their 3 secondments across the programme. So we have the NDA as the programme owner, we have our sponsoring employers, then we have our secondment hosts. I hope that makes that a little bit clearer.
It does make it clear to me, Craig, but I've worked with you for a long time. But I think as well, when we speak to the graduates, that'll make it even clearer when we're talking about their experiences as well. And finally, Craig, before we move on to Shan, any misconceptions that you kind of want to cover off as part of this webinar?
I don't think so. I think, just a message to get over and to reinforce really is that the sector is undergoing rapid transformation. So many opportunities there, and a broad range of careers available across the nuclear sector as well. The nuclear sector is not just about science and technology careers. There's a broad range of business roles there as well, from HR, commercial, communications, finance, as well as those science and technology roles as well.
There is something for everybody, and that kind of links perfectly on to Shan now, if I can, Shan. So tell us a little bit more about the opportunities that you've currently got advertised on Gradcracker.
Yeah, so obviously, what Craig's just said leads in really nicely, really.
Couldn't have planned for a better handover.
At the moment we do have 14 different vacancies sort of available for people to apply to. They are all live, so you can literally apply today. As Craig just said, they are across a wide range of disciplines. So we are looking for lots of different types of role really. So we do have a lot of engineering sector roles. We do have a lot of scientific, but we also do have the business roles as well, such as like project management and things like that. They are all advertised on the Gradcracker Hub. I won't list all 14 of them, but do obviously get yourselves over to the Hub and have a little look on there. They're currently all open until the 6th of January, but we are subject to closing vacancies early. Sort of when we do reach capacity with the application numbers. So I would just get your applications in as soon as possible on there as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really valid point, especially there's been lots of students watching this webinar, so make sure you do get your applications in straight away. Right, thank you, Shan, thank you, Craig, thank you, Hannah. We're going to go on and meet the grads now. So just a brief introduction from me, if I can, then I'm going to hand you over to Jessica, and Jessica will look after you through the next part of the webinar. But Lauren, I'm going to start with you. Could you just tell everybody about where you went to university and what did you study?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Carla. Hi, everyone. My name's Lauren, and I studied natural sciences at Lancaster University. And I also did a study abroad year at Macquarie University over in Australia. And I focused on environmental sciences, biology, chemistry, and geophysics during my degree.
Perfect. Jess is ploughing up the questions, Lauren, to ask you about that. Henry, similar question, please. Which university and what did you study?
Sure thing. So everyone, I did a 4-year integrated masters in physics at Durham University, graduated in 2020.
Perfect. Thank you, Henry. And Jasmine?
Hi, I'm Jasmine. I also did an integrated masters, but in mechanical engineering, and I did that at the University of Manchester.
Fantastic. So as you can see, what Sian touched upon before, and Craig, we've got a variety of different backgrounds, different universities taking part in this webinar today. So it really is all STEM business students can apply to the opportunities which are currently live. Before I hand over, we're going to go loop the room again and just do a quick top fact about nuclear graduates. And Lauren, you're up first.
Yep, so the nuclear graduate scheme actually has a really great success rate. In fact, 98% of graduates come off the scheme and go into full-time employment within the nuclear industry after finishing the scheme, which is quite incredible, to be honest. It
is, yeah, definitely. Thank you, Lauren. I think we're going to have a people top fact round today. Henry, tell us about your top fact.
Absolutely. So my top fact, first part of it, is that there have been over 450 people who've gone through the scheme and gone out into industry. And my personal claim to fame, I've managed to meet someone from cohort 2 who was a senior engineer from Atkins and on a consortium developing advanced modular reactors to meet net zero 2050. So
fantastic. Oh, a personal one and a business one. Thank you, Henry. And Jasmine?
So mine is about the CPD budget that Hannah mentioned briefly. Basically, you can basically do courses in anything, something that's not related to your discipline. So for example, I do mechanical engineering. I've done a mental health first aider training course. So it's really broad, and so long as you can prove the value of it, you can do a lot of different things with it.
Thank you, Jasmine. Hannah is nodding along there like, yes, you can. Good top fact. So thanks, everybody. Jessica, I'm going to hand over to you, my love.
Thanks, Carla. So next, we want to find out a bit more about your roles at nuclear graduates and really how, life looks for you. So the team that you work in, how your experiences have kind of panned out so far. So Lauren, I'm afraid, my love, you're at the top of my list again. So I'm coming to you first, if that's okay. So if you could just tell us a bit more about your role.
Yeah, of course, Jessica. Yeah. So over the scheme, it was touched on before, you do have different secondments across different companies. So over the 2 years, I've had 3 different roles, so 3 different teams and 3 different companies, which has been incredible. So I joined as an environmental science graduate. So I started off at Magnox, which is part of a decommissioning mission, up at the Chapelcross site in Scotland as an environmental advisor. So that involved getting involved with the environment work on site and also some sustainability. Moved then to Sellafield in Cumbria and did environment again and also some radiological protection. That was something completely new to me, and it was a really great experience to dive into something completely new and have that support to be able to do that. And then I actually went down to London and worked in BAYS. So it's a part of government, it's a government department, and worked on the advanced modular reactor programs. So they've got 2 programs at the minute, and that's looking into the future of the nuclear industry. And there was a technical advising role, which involved a bit of project management as well as some technical stuff too. So really broad experience over the 2 years.
Wow. That sounds incredible. So where do you even start? So if you're like, you've traveled around the country, you've got all this experience, kind of go back to the kind of first experience that you had. So would you say it was Magnox was the first company that you were with? So tell us a bit about how you kind of find the first company that you want to work with, then how would you transition to the next one, how it all works, and again, is it nerve-wracking kind of going into another organisation, not knowing anyone and then moving across? Tell me all a bit about that and how that works.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting question. So started off at Magnox because that was my sponsor company. So that was really supported. They offered me the role. They told me where I was going to go and, what site I was going to be on and what work I was going to be doing. And that was quite tailored to my degree. So I felt quite comfortable going into that role. And then it gave me a taste of the nuclear industry, a really great introduction as well. And then over that 8 months, I actually figured out where I wanted to go in my next role and had the support there to be able to ask people, I really enjoy this part of my role. Where can I go to learn more about this? Or I really want to, dive into something a bit different. What can I do? And there's loads of people around there that will offer you that support. You've got a personal mentor on the scheme as well. So you've always got someone throughout that 2 years when you can go back to, and you can really rely on them for some expert advice, because they've been in the industry themselves for quite a few years. And you touched on, like, do you feel nervous going into a new organization? And obviously with any new job you're going to have a bit of nerves, but I think Henry kind of touched on it with his personal point earlier. The nuclear industry it's big, yes, and it's growing, but the amount of nuclear graduates and familiar faces you see across the industry, wherever you go, you're probably going to know someone as a nuclear graduate, because you've instantly got that network of the grads you're working with, and the different schemes that are going on. So I think it's a really good scheme with a lot of support there to assist that kind of going out your comfort zone, but also feel supported at the same time as well.
That's a really interesting point, because again, when you speak to other organisations, you kind of think of just that one company that you're working for, and then the different elements that you can work within that company. But almost like the nuclear sector is almost like one large, kind of entity in itself. How nice is that you can go from one Sellafield to Magnox to Rolls-Royce, wherever it may be, and you've got that feeling you probably will know someone when you join that organization, or someone might have gone through a similar experience yourself, which is pretty unique, I would say, for an industry, especially with kind of entry-level graduate roles. So in terms of another question, in terms of kind of relocating then, how did you find that? And gosh, because you've done, like I say, traveled around the country pretty much. And how did you find that? How did you go about it?
So for our cohort, it's quite interesting because it was during the lockdown. So obviously quite a lot of different challenges there as well. But overall, the support from the graduate scheme was incredible. Had a lot of virtual events as well to support us through that. And also the graduate scheme, especially now, they do put on in-person events as well. So you get to meet people from across your graduate scheme and meet different people who might be at the same organisation as you, or across different parts of the country. So you're all going through similar things at the same time. And you do have choice in where you go as well throughout the scheme, which is great. So I really wanted to go down to Sellafield and experience Cumbria and different areas, and then go down to London and experience that different life as well. So it's a great chance to decide where you want to direct your future, and also meet different people along the way, and kind of explore different parts of the UK. And it's really a great experience.
It really sounds like then, if for the audience that are listening, if you're wanting to join nuclear graduates, you've got to have that idea of you using these next 2 years to explore the industry as much as you can, take as much as you can from it. So don't restrict yourself to a certain location, in a certain field, really kind of explore and, take on as much as you can. So definitely for the audience listening, that needs to be a bit of a draw if you are thinking about applying. Lauren, I'm going to come to you a bit later on about projects and go in a bit more detail, but thank you so much for that overview. Henry, I'm going to come to you next, if that's okay. A very similar question. Tell us a bit about your role so far at Nuclear Graduates.
Absolutely. So as part of the same cohort as Lauren, so started in 2020, and have now graduated, attended my nuclear graduation, which the programme team puts on. And I've started at my sponsor organisation, Rolls-Royce, which Energis has helped with the transition over to as well. So over my time on the scheme, I've done secondments at Rolls-Royce, but also at the UK Atomic Energy Authority, which looks into nuclear fusion research, and also actually working with Lauren in the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. But the team that I've returned to is a radiation physics shielding and criticality team. The primary purpose of the team is to minimise radiation exposure for submariners in the Royal Navy's nuclear submarines. And the result of that is that most of the crew receives less dose living on board than you would if you lived in Cornwall, which has slightly higher background radiation levels because of the radon released by granite underfoot. So fun fact.
That's incredible. Wow. So in terms of them, so you just graduated, congratulations, well done. So in terms then of, it sounds as though, and I might be wrong, but I don't know much about the nuclear sector, but that sounds quite a niche kind of experience there. How did you get into that? Was that something that you knew you wanted to do, or did you kind of just get that experience by chance, or was that kind of a driver for you?
Good question. So at university, I knew I wanted to be in an industry that used my degree and was very interesting and had good prospects, which is why I was looking at the nuclear industry, and I had been for a long time. As part of your physics degree, you see sort of nuclear physics, atomic physics, and nuclear fusion, and I wanted to get involved in that. So then when I applied to the scheme and had a really positive experience actually in the recruitment process, they showed interest in me and were very keen to get to know whether you want to do the scheme, as well as, you know, sort of whether you're able to do the scheme, whether it worked. They found that first secondment post, which was in radiation physics, but a key mantra is to identify your skills gaps and identify where do you want to go next to build up your skills. So that's the reason why I did a couple of different placements within Rolls-Royce. One as a sort of manufacturing engineer, once again very different to being a physicist. The placement in nuclear fusion research, that was following a sort of getting a taste of what the academic side to the nuclear industry was like, and then also going to BASE for that sort of oversight of the whole nuclear industry and looking at new advanced modular reactors. So really trying to get a taste of everything then gives me a better idea of what I want to dive into in that sort of that first permanent role.
Fantastic. So Henry, question there. So you say that you've done multiple placements in Rolls-Royce, which is great. Just asking out of curiosity, really. So say, for example, you seconded out to Rolls-Royce, you liked Rolls-Royce and you wanted to stay at Rolls-Royce throughout the kind of 2-year period. Could you do that? Or is it kind of encouraged that you would move on and go to another organisation throughout that 2 years?
You could, but you've been missing out on the USP of the scheme. And the real USP is in that flexible, you know, dealing with change, starting in new teams, finding a new work area, meeting new people, meeting new teams, and then, you know, moving on to another one and broadening your skill set. So you could, but a lot of these companies have their grad schemes. If that's for you, then that's the one. But this is all about being essentially a broader picture of the scheme.
Yeah. 100%. So it goes back to that other point, you know, students that are listening, you want to go in with the idea of that you want to explore as much as you can, and to take all those opportunities that will come your way. So fantastic. Thanks, Henry. Jasmine, I'm going to come to you. Same question, if that's okay. Could you tell us a bit about your experiences so far at Nuclear Graduates?
Yeah, so I am actually in the cohort below. So I'm in cohort 2021. So I'm still part way through the scheme. So yeah, I'm just over halfway through now. So my sponsor is also Rolls-Royce, so that's where I started. I did 2 placements within Rolls-Royce. I started in kind of analytical engineering. It was very lot of spreadsheets, a lot of analysis, kind of computational analysis of fluids and things like that. A lot of it was kind of future class submarines, so working on things that are, you know, won't even be developed for 30 years. So that was really interesting. And then again, the one thing I wanted to use the scheme for was to kind of get as broad an experience as possible. So my next placement at Rolls-Royce was then in manufacturing engineering. So actually getting to go onto like a shop floor and see things being manufactured, and a lot more about process engineering and things like that. And then now I'm currently 3 months into my second secondment, and I'm at a company called Kyoto Fusioneering, which is a small Japanese fusion startup. So I'm a project engineer here. It's very different. The UK team is 5 people. I'm one of 5 people, so very, very different to Rolls-Royce. It's a much broader experience. It's kind of looking more at kind of the commercial aspect of fusion, and as Henry said, it's slightly more academic as well, because fusion's just at that point in kind of its life cycle, but it's still very academic, so writing papers and things like that. So yeah.
Wow, so polar opposite experiences already. So exactly, say, you know, that's an interesting point. You know, working for a large organisation, startup, the experiences there are completely different. Just a side note, I don't know if anyone knows the answer to this, if you don't mind me asking, but how many organisations is there that you guys work with in total? Do you have a list?
So in terms of working with, so there's obviously the host organisations, and a lot of people go. You have a sponsor organisation, and a lot of people go to another sponsor for a second secondment. However, realistically, there's a lot of different companies that you can go to. I don't think I could name all of them. There's quite the range, especially with all of the different disciplines that there are now. Like it's so broad that it's really it's some will get offered to you, but a lot of things that you just, by talking to people at conferences and things like that, you can find so many opportunities through that. So a lot of what the scheme is you make the most of it. Like it's what you make of it, really.
So that's another interesting point. So when you come off a secondment and you want to go on to the next one, do you almost need to have the next one lined up before you can jump across? And is it up to you almost, Jasmine, to get that organised, or you'll have a team, like Lauren said, they'll support you with that?
Yeah. So it is, I mean, you are given a lot of like responsibility, which is a good thing on the scheme in terms of like you're treated like an adult, which you are, but you're given a lot of responsibility, so that it is up to you. Not that you're not given support, that there's so much support with it. You never find yourself completely looking at a secondment, for example. You're always able to extend your current secondment, or bring it forward. There's so many different things, but it is up to you to make of what you want for your next secondment. You have to go and get it, basically.
Absolutely. It's so exciting. So none of you are really ever going to have a very similar experience, because you're all going to kind of go off, and so all your stories are going to be completely different, which is so interesting. I feel like I'm slowly getting my head around this story now. So next, I want to kind of, because I know a lot of the audience listening will be bored of my kind of normal questions. They want to know a bit about, kind of more the hardcore kind of engineering-y stuff. So next, I want to talk a bit about the projects, and if we could kind of touch upon maybe either your favourite project that you've worked on so far, or the project you're working on now that has really interested you the most. So Lauren, I'm going to come back to you again, and let's know a bit more about the projects.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So as I mentioned, I joined as an environmental scientist, and one of my favourite projects was actually working at Chapel Cross site with Magnox. So that was working on their environmental monitoring programme. And that was, again, one of my first tasks, and I got a lot of responsibility for it. Like, they gave me a lot of support, but I was also very independent with it as well. And I got the chance to go around site and ask different stakeholders about their opinions, and also get in touch with the supply chain as well, in terms of, what equipment we were using and how we were actually going to carry out this monitoring. So right from the start, even though I was a graduate, I got given so much responsibility within the team that I was working with at Chapel Cross, but again, a lot of support. So it's really that kind of assisted learning curve for me, whereas something completely new that I'd never done before. But again, I had them specialists right on hand to kind of be like, right, this is great, like you need to do a bit more of this, and a bit of direction as well. So that was my favorite one. And again, it was right at the very start of the scheme, and I think for me that was just, it really embodied the graduate program. It's you're trying new things, and you've got a lot of independence and ownership over the tasks, but you've got that support there to make sure you're doing it right. And this stuff, it's getting used for the actual company as well. The benefit you bring to the company, you're used for your skills, and they will contribute that towards the greater mission of the work you're doing, which is a really nice feeling to kind of get on board with the company.
Absolutely. So Hannah, I don't know if you want to kind of come in here a bit as well. So in terms of like training and things like that, so Lauren has mentioned there, obviously coming out with a fantastic degree, the experience that you've had across those 2 years, your CV is going to look pretty phenomenal at the end of once you finish the program here. So in terms of in maybe like chartership, stuff like that, how does that work? And do you offer chartership 1, 2, how do you kind of help, in terms of the training process, because there's so much exposure to so many different things. How does that work? And then how do you help the graduate wants to finish those 2 years to kind of say, right, this is where you can go next?
So we do offer chartership as part of the Nuclear Graduates Programme. So as sort of mentioned earlier, each graduate sort of gets assigned like a personal mentor that helps them go through their chartership. So depending on which specific chartership route that the graduate would choose to go down, we are sort of accredited with various organisations for chartership groups. So sort of your mentor will have either gone through that certain chartership themselves or maybe going through it. So graduates are sort of paired up with mentors in their sponsoring organisations related to their discipline and related to their chartership that they wish to go through. And we're obviously there as a programme team, myself and my colleagues, to offer support with that. We can help speak to line managers in current secondments or future secondments as well, to ensure that sort of any objectives, any projects that the graduates are working on can also be relevant to their chartership route as well. And then obviously post programme, with the nuclear graduates only being sort of a 24-month programme, 2-year programme, we can sort of also offer that support post programme as well. So a lot of charterships do maybe take slightly longer than those 24 months to sort of get accredited for. So yeah, there's the support there as well with myself and our post-programme team to continue that as well.
That is brilliant. Really, really good stuff.
So much support, isn't there, as well, for everybody?
It's phenomenal.
Experiences support.
Absolutely brilliant. So Lauren, is that a journey that you're interested in kind of going on yourself? And, how is that journey like looking for you at the moment?
Yeah. So I've had a lot of help from the team in terms of my chartership journey so far, which has been incredible. I've actually managed to get to practitioner level of my chartership at the moment.
Wow, well done.
The grad scheme, thank you. Yeah, so that's been a great achievement for myself, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without the team support. So they've put me onto training courses to help me get my knowledge up to that level, and also help me with, again, my personal mentors help me write my application towards a chartership as well, and put in them case studies I'm doing on the scheme, on my secondments, into writing to send off to the chartership body. And I've managed to get to that point at the moment, and I'm currently in the process of writing my chartership application as well. So it's all moved really fast, and it's been really good. And that's on top of the work I've been doing with the programme as well, and using that secondment experience as proof and evidence towards my chartership. So again, it's a perfect journey to get that mixture of experiences that chartership bodies really look for and that they want in their kind of applications, which is great.
And I would say, Lauren, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone can correct me if I'm wrong here, but that's probably a lot quicker than the kind of national average getting, typically, would you say normally 4 or 5 years, would you say?
Yeah, so actually on the recommended kind of, like, as you say, the average time to take would be 4 to 5 years for full chartership, and then 3 years for practitioner level. So the fact I got to practitioner level with the experience of the grad scheme with I think just over a year it was. So really great grad scheme, and that just goes to show how much experience you get in such a short time.
Oh gosh, wow. Absolutely amazing. So thanks, Lauren. Henry, I'm going to come to you. Same question. Favorite project you've worked on so far, please?
Absolutely. So I'm going to go for a project that I was working on whilst in the civil service in the Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. And it was the Advanced Modular Reactor team, which is part of the Net Zero Innovation portfolio. So it's how is the government trying to invest money in innovative projects and companies with the aim of having more options for net zero. Now, for Advanced Modular Reactor technology, next generation fuel, that has an option for decarbonising industry, producing hydrogen, essentially through producing high-grade heat that industry can use for hydrogen. And there's also possibilities for district heating and cogeneration of electricity. So it's a really interesting new avenue for the nuclear industry. Yeah. And my role on this as a technical advisor, I had sort of two key sort of parts in my placement there. The first one was being part of the assessment and moderation team for public bids for a tender that the government had put out for this competition. And my role there was to organise internally how these were going to be assessed, how to ensure that the assessments were fair, and then prepare that with the programme leader to be pitched for the contracts to actually get signed and to actually funding to be awarded to innovative ideas in the nuclear industry, which is really exciting to be part of. And then the second stage of that project was for me to be the project manager on the successful contracts. So six successful contracts, and starting out the project management of getting in touch and organising sessions with the consortia, with these groups that put their bids in, and monitoring their deliverables and payment of invoices dependent on deliverable delivery, all those sorts of things, which requires a vast array of skills that are very different to the skills you get on a typical physics degree. So a huge amount of personal interaction, project management, teamwork, and flexibility as well. That's one of the key things. So that was a real interesting project I didn't really think I was going to be doing at the start of the scheme. When I thought I wanted to be a nuclear physicist and work in energy and radiation and shielding, it was a bit of a move. So it was very, very exciting placement.
I can really imagine that. And like you say, it's almost like having your own business in a sense, isn't it? You've got to think of all the other elements, convincing, communicating with others, like you said, looking on the finance side of things and making sure it all works. So in terms of kind of the project, if you don't mind me delving a little bit more there. So you got it all signed, all 6 signed, fantastic. You started them. What's happening with the projects now? And obviously you've kind of come away from that, but it must be nice to kind of look at those projects and think that you were involved in it.
Absolutely, and a big part of it being a government project is that it's all up there on the government website. You can go and check up on it and see what the progress is. I mean, a big part of it was when those contracts were started and signed was the communications process. How does the government tell the public and potentially MPs about new work and about what public money is being spent on? So they've got lots of controls and lots of things you need to do in order to make an announcement at the right time, saying the right things. So that was really exciting to be a part of. And these are really long-term projects. So the idea is to build a demonstration of this next generation nuclear technology, and that's looking at early 2030. So when the early 2030s roll around and there's a demonstration reactor being built, I can say, oh yes, I was involved in the start of that.
That's incredible.
Wow.
It's an interesting point, that, isn't it? It's that idea of communications, because I think Carla, you touched on, and Craig answered it, changing the misconceptions about the nuclear industry. And Craig, you spoke a lot about it at the beginning, but how much the industry is changing now, and how the way that you are going with the industry is going to be a massive part of the future. So it's going to be a lovely moment, I can imagine, Henry, when you can look back and think, yes, we started that, you planted that seed, and hopefully you can then look and think, wow, this is where we are now and this is what we've achieved. So absolutely incredible stuff. So again, students that are listening, you are almost carving out the future with organizations like nuclear graduates. It's planting those seeds with the idea of where you can be in 30-40 years time. It'll be a completely different looking industry, which is phenomenal.
And I think it's a different background just to what the nuclear industry needs as well. Since I've started working with nuclear graduates, it's evolved dramatically over the last 10, 15 years or so. From wanting civil engineers, physicists, all the different disciplines and backgrounds that the nuclear industry needs, and is going to need for 20, 30, 40 years to come as well. I think that's been a massive turning point as well for the industry and how it's evolved.
100%. Yeah, I'm actually looking on the hub now, because this is what I did. I looked before the webinar. You've got civil engineering, chemical, chemistry, physics, cybersecurity, and it goes on. And on and on and on. It's phenomenal. And again, it's something which I suppose you don't think about, that you're going to need all those disciplines. It's brilliant. Jasmine, come to you. Last but not least, projects. Favorite project that you've worked on?
So I would actually say it's one that I recently just was submitted. So it's at the company that I'm working at currently, and we were basically I got involved in writing a journal article, basically. So it was a paper looking at basically the challenges to the fusion industry, and kind of what Kyoto Fusioneering was doing to kind of tackle those challenges, while also kind of looking at the commercial kind of the journey to commercialization of fusion in general. So it was something that I was meant to just kind of help a little bit on, and I ended up effectively just being given it to do. I was one of like one of the main authors on it. So yeah, that'll be published hopefully sometime next year. So
That's
it's
incredible.
quite exciting. But yeah, it was really interesting. Again, similar to kind of what Henry said, in that it's something I never thought I'd be doing in terms of it. Even then, it's just like the topics that it's on. I wouldn't say that was a topic that I was particularly familiar with. My previous placements were fairly technical, whereas this was much more general and like, about the actual challenges and commercialization. So yeah, it was a challenge for sure, but really, really fascinating, and a quick growth in terms of like my learning curve even.
So do you think that there is a future for the kind of commercialization of fusion?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's something that's interesting about working kind of like at a much smaller kind of private company. Is that especially now, like I've the amount of opportunities I've had, like I've been to like conferences and things like that, but like talking to kind of UKAA and things like that. But there's a lot of private and public kind of partnerships that are going on currently, and I think of all the times that fusion has a chance to actually work commercially, now is like the time. But that's what's exciting about nuclear in general. It's not even just fusion, it's all happening right now. Like it's such an exciting industry to work in. It really is. So.
It's evolving, isn't it? Other thing, just thinking, Hannah, I'm coming to you about training. Shelley, I'm just thinking PhD. I've never done a PhD myself, but I haven't even done a degree. But I'm just thinking, you're writing all these things. Could you apply it in some way? Can you, kind of upskill yourself doing a master's? You've done a master's already, haven't you, Jasmine?
Yeah.
PhD.
I mean, I could technically. A lot of, I guess that's also another thing is a lot of people have PhDs in at least in the departments that I've been working in, but they don't treat you any different. It can feel quite nerve-wracking in that you're being given this piece of work that someone's working on something equivalent and they've got a PhD and you don't have that. But it's exciting. It shows the amount of responsibility that you're given. But yeah, for sure, I think there's definitely people that would go on to do a PhD.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And Hannah, would nuclear graduates support that, or would that be something separate after they've come off the programme that they could then decide to do?
Yeah, that would probably be something that would be separate. Obviously, the graduates, though, throughout their 2 years on programme with us, they sort of build those relationships with their sponsoring companies and things like that. So it may be something that the graduates can sort of discuss with their sponsoring organisation, depending on the role that they secure at the end of their programme. I'm sure that like sponsors organisations, they would be sort of keen to have those conversations with graduates, sort of them to help them on their own learning development post programme.
Perfect. Great stuff. Have I got time to talk about futures?
I was thinking more about work moving away from the day job.
Oh,
and then I can look back in at the end.
Okay, so Lauren, come back to you because you're always top of my list, Lauren, so I apologise. But could you tell us a bit more, coming up, as Carl said, coming away from your day job a bit more about the other stuff that you get involved in, so whether it be sports activities, what else do you do, kind of networking groups you've mentioned already, but tell us a bit more about that side of stuff.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So the grad scheme is a great chance to meet different people from, across different places within the actual scheme itself. You've got quite a big cohort of people in very similar situations, and there's lots of chance to meet up, whether that's training, working in your groups, and, just having them weekly check-ins with the people that like you're in a team with and everything. So for me, there's definitely been lots of kind of social opportunities to meet people, a lot of team building, which has been really, really nice, especially when, you are jumping through jobs a little bit. So it's nice to have that kind of like that settled feel with a team where you can actually go and say, oh, I'm doing this, or I feel a bit nervous about this, and they know you, so you can talk about your day and everything. And it's really good from like a well-being point of view as well. Some of these comments, you might be away from your home and your family, so to have that network there, and they are your friends as well. Like you really do make friends quite quickly on the scheme too as well. So I think it's really important to have that. Again, we've been to conferences conferences together. We've been to site visits across different places in the UK and on an international level. So again, that's separate from the day job, but it continues with your learning and your understanding of the nuclear industry, and really helps put into perspective the work you're doing and where it fits in. Because like obviously Henry was mentioning the work we were doing in Bays on the AMR programme, and then going over and seeing different conferences when they're mentioning this work on an international level, and you're thinking, wow, like the stuff we're working on really does, it's got a big impact on the nuclear industry as a whole, and it really makes you realise, the stuff you're doing on the graduate scheme can have really big impacts, whether that's now, the future, 40 years or so, to the nuclear industry. So lots of different opportunities to get involved in conferences, and the more casual things as well, like, team building, sports activities as well. They've got some football teams and some tennis teams going on at the sites that you can join in on as well. So again, it just depends on what company you're at and the social activities they have on offer.
Perfect. Yeah, sounds fantastic. It's interesting as well, isn't it, when you touch upon the other stuff, but there's kind of softer skills, putting your hands up and saying, I'm struggling a bit today, or you just want a friendly face, or you need this, you need that, and being able to communicate and have that kind of network of people where you've got it as well, which is fantastic. I don't know if you want to add to that, Henry and Jasmine. Lauren pretty much smashed that question, so well done. But is there anything else that you want to add to that?
There's one thing that's crossed my mind, and that's the close relationship with the YGN, the Young Generation Network, which is an institute set up and run by the Nuclear Institute. So it's a wider chartership body for the nuclear industry. And the Nuclear Graduate Scheme, you have loads of interactions with the YGN, such as YGN Conference. There's sort of local YGN branches. There's a YGN speaking competition, which I'd like to get involved with in a couple of years' time. And there's also, so the Nuclear Institute itself also has local branches. So in the Midlands, there's Rolls-Royce, Fraser Nash, and the Nuclear Advanced Manufacturing Research Centre, for the mouthful, NAMRAC, where it kind of encourages collaboration and networking on that local level, as well as the national, international level that Lauren was talking about.
Fantastic. And Jasmine, do you want to add to that anyway?
Yeah, I'm just going to quickly mention, so you're really encouraged as well to do like STEM activities. So you're all you become a STEM ambassador effectively as well. So you through that, I've gone into schools to talk about nuclear, talk about STEM in general, just doing activities with kids, things where they guess my job, things like that, trying to look at gender bias at a young age in STEM and things like that. And that's also aside from your day job, and you take an hour out to do this, or go into a school, for example. So that's also I've done a lot of different things. I was a maths tutor. I've done a lot of different things, and that's really encouraged as well. So
definitely. Which is really good. And I don't know, I feel like I've come away from this thinking about the industry in a completely different way to what I thought about it before. So I hope the audience have as well, because it's been really interesting.
I know, we need to know how to apply now. Jasmine, just one last question to you. Did they guess your job correctly?
Yeah.
So I was back at Rolls-Royce then. So obviously, simple as that really shows, an understanding if you can explain it to a load of 6-year-olds.
Yeah, it does. I was thinking that.
But they did actually manage to. The school was in Derby, so I wonder if that helped in terms of their awareness of Rolls-Royce as a company. But they did think that I worked on a submarine though, rather than working to develop the submarines. But I'd
have gone with that, Jasmine. I'd be like, I work on a submarine. That's exactly what I do. Perfect. Thank you very much. You're inspiring the younger generation as well when you do
absolutely
to join the nuclear industry, to join nuclear graduates in 20 odd years time if they are little ones. Sian, right, the pressure's on. How do we apply? Come on, tell us.
So as I said before, obviously applications are open now, so you can just go onto the Gradcracker hub and apply through there. All we're looking for is an online application form. We've kept it quite simple, so we're not asking for pages and pages of things on there, so you'll be able to get those completed pretty quickly. Following your application form, that will be, we'll go through that as a recruitment team. So it doesn't kind of go to a computer or something. We're a real life team, and we manually look at everybody's applications individually. Following that, if you are successful at the screening stage, you will go to an online situational strength assessment. This is, as I said there, it is an online assessment. It's not timed, so you can work through that at your own pace as well, and it just helps us get a bit more of a feel around sort of your strengths and things really. Following that stage, you would then get invited to complete an online video interview. And again, that just gives us a bit more of a feel for you as an individual and sort of what your passions are and your strengths. If you are successful at all of those stages, you would then get invited to our assessment centre, which is the final stage in the process. Majority of these are virtual this year, but we are also holding some face-to-face ones. It could be either. The assessment centres are basically run by our recruitment team. So it would be myself or, you know, the other girls from the recruitment team at that centre with you. But we also are joined by the sponsors as well. So as we've talked about, you know, there is all the sponsor organisations, you know, looking for individuals to join their companies. So just to let you know sort of the sponsors that we are working with this year, we've got the NDA group, including Magnox and Sellafield. We've got the Nuclear AMRC. We've got Office of Nuclear Regulation. We've got the UK Atomic Energy Authority, and we've got Rolls-Royce as well. So they are all looking for individuals to, you know, join their companies as well. So we will be joined by representatives from those companies at that recruitment stage as well.
Some fantastic names as well, there, isn't they? Amazing names. And then if there were, you know, students were to be successful, Shan, what are the start times? Is it September next year that they'll be starting with you?
Yeah, so the earliest would be September. The date, it will be around September/October, sort of, 2023. So yeah, obviously, as I said, recruitment's open now. Assessment centres will run from sort of now right up until March. So we do stagger them, obviously, just due to the volumes that we're looking for. This will be the biggest cohort to date that we've recruited. The programme is continuously growing, and we're continuously looking for, you know, new talent to join us.
Can you put a figure on that, Shan? Roughly how many grads are you looking for?
Over 100.
Over 100. That's a nice loose number. But it just shows that, you know, how many opportunities are available at nuclear graduates. It just shows that you do need to get your applications in and apply. And Shan, you just mentioned that you and Holly and the team there, you know, front facing, you look at all of the applications yourselves. So give the students, if you can, some hints and tips. How can they be successful and how can they make their application stand out?
I think the main thing I would say, obviously, you know, like I just touched on, there is the different stages throughout the process. The main thing I would say is just be yourself. That maybe sounds a little bit cliche, but it is so important. So we really want to see you and see what your passion is and sort of why you're interested in the scheme. But it's not about already having that experience, as you've just found out from everybody here today. You know, you get so much experience on the programme, so you don't need to have that experience to join us. We're looking for people with that passion and that enthusiasm about the industry and about, you know, the sponsor organisations we work with as well. So yeah, be yourself. And then throughout the process as well, I would just say always keep an eye on your emails. It's the main form of communication. And obviously, you know, again, it sounds like something simple, but if you are using sort of a university email address or something, and then you may be off over Christmas, you know, you might miss emails and things. So just keep an eye on what email addresses you're registering with as well, just to make sure you don't miss anything.
Yeah, good point. And, you know, keep an eye on your spam as well. And you can favourite email addresses, can't you, Jess? I think. So, you know, make sure you do that and keep informed with everything. So thank you, Shan. I'm going to move on to Hannah now. So we've gone through everything that is nuclear graduates, and then the opportunities sound fantastic for the students who can apply. Is there anything in particular that you wanted to focus on or cover with regards to benefits that haven't been touched upon so far as part of the webinar?
I think most of it has been covered by Henry, Jasmine and Lauren and my colleagues Craig and Charm, but I would say probably one of the key benefits that I'd obviously just like to put across again is sort of the 3 secondments that are on offer throughout the 2-year programme, and I think the graduates on this call today have sort of emphasised how you can make that experience your own. So the wider knowledge, the wider experience that you can get. You've basically got these 2 years to network with other organisations, network at other conferences and things like that, to build up your sort of your rapport within the industry and build those relationships, those networks, and that's what you can then use going forward post programme.
Yeah, I can't believe how many brilliant opportunities and host organisations. Craig, finishing off with you from the kind of the early careers side of things. So once a graduate has started at Nuclear Graduates, any hints and tips? So we've kind of covered the recruitment process, what's involved there. We've covered training and development and everything else. But what kind of would you say to the grads? How can they be successful, and any hints and tips on that?
I think that for me, the key, and I think Lauren, Henry, Jasmine have touched on this, I think the programme is full of opportunities.
Yeah,
it really is, and it's about taking every opportunity that comes your way across the 2 years. Those opportunities will help every graduate coming into the programme to raise their profile as young nuclear professionals, whether that's through attendance at the core training events that Hannah touched on, whether it's through the secondments, whether it's through the Nuclear Institute and the YGN, as Henry touched on. There are so many opportunities here to raise your profile as a young nuclear professional. And I think if I had to give one piece of advice to anybody starting the Nuclear Graduates Programme, it would be that. Take every opportunity that comes your way, because at the end of 2 years, you will go on to a fantastic career where, in a fantastic sector with a full range of different organisations, and the 2 years will prepare you for that and raise your profile.
Yeah. You know what, guys, I'm quite sad that this has come to an end, because I've enjoyed listening to you all your experiences and hints and tips and everything. It's been really, really interesting. So thank you very, very much, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you to the audience. Thank you to the panel. Thank you, Jessica, for being involved as well. Join us next Thursday. So that's the 1st of December. Can you believe they're in December already? We're joined by our other company, engineering consultancy, Stantec. We'll be joining Jessica and Sophie. But don't forget what Sian said, get your applications into Nuclear Graduates. They will be closing out as soon as they've filled their positions. So good luck, get your applications in, and we'll see you all soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.